Farage says he's the only one that can fix Britain, but when you actually listen to what he and Reform UK are offering, it's nothing, just distraction, scapegoating and culture wars, while the real problems go ignored.
And they all do it, and none deliver, although I think they say it because they think the public wants to hear it, rather than they actually mean it.
Let's just assume that things went wrong.
Yeah.
That the worst case scenario, economically, is better than where we are today.
Have cheaper food, cheaper shoes, cheaper bras.
We can give people cheaper food, cheaper bras, cheaper shoes. It's a massive opportunity.
So you say.
This really was just an awful conference from start to finish, but the questions that the journalists asked were particularly strange, and considering there's a myriad of problems with the UK at the moment, including a housing crisis, a workforce shortage caused in part by the excessively low birth rate, hate crime being totally out of control in the UK, and inflation going through the roof, the press decided to ask other questions, and Nigel spent about 75% of the time talking about migration.
Afghans,
Refugees,
and if you don't take this voluntary program, you're gone.
Pakistan.
So in this video we're going to pull up why Nigel's comments and questions and answers made little to no sense. It doesn't solve anything about Britain, but also some of the weird stuff that he said and some of the lies. First up, their migration policies, which are straight out of the Trump book, and why they won't work.
And Trump, whatever you think of President Trump, he has cut illegal border crossings by 97%. They said that it couldn't be done, he has done it.
Except the US has a land border with Mexico. Britain doesn't. You can't build a wall in the English Channel. You can't put a hard border in the sea, so the entire comparison collapses straight away.
How? Because ICE has gone out and made 150,000 arrests and embarked on these deportations.
So they're trying to emulate a policy that caused the LA riots, but also tanked Donald Trump's approval rating.
One of Donald Trump's, in fact, the best issue for Donald Trump, immigration. And yet when it comes to these Los Angeles protests, 15 points underwater overall and 24 points underwater among independents. No good.
If you look at the detention capacity he created in Florida, he created 3,000 beds in 8 days. If we were to be able to do it at that rate, we'd have the whole 24,000 up and running in 2 months. That's not in our numbers, but there is modern technology. These steel modular structures, these are all things that we can use. This notion that Britain can't do anything, Britain can't build anything, is for the birds. It's just about the political will.
You're not looking at Guantanamo Bay, you're actually looking at Alligator Alcatraz, which is what they want to open up in the UK. Except Alligator Alcatraz has been ordered to be closed because it got put up so quickly it broke several regulations and laws, as well as the conditions inside being horrific.
Detainees kept in sweltering cages, bug infestations, and meager meals.
And it gets worse because I've just found footage showing Guantanamo Bay, and the conditions for terrorists are better than for immigrants.
Behaved prisoners get more books, snacks, and clothing options. Those who've broken the rules within the last 30 days have reduced privileges and are made to wear orange jumpsuits. All prisoners use toiletries which happen to have the brand name Maximum Security, and even uncooperative inmates get to watch TV while shackled to the floor.
Today, they're in camps 5 and 6, and those are modern facilities, multi-million-dollar facilities, air-conditioned with satellite TV, with workout rooms. So a lot has changed in the 12 years for the better.
One of the other amenities available to the detainees is a library of books, magazines, and video games. The titles are all vetted for suitability before being allowed.
I think we do have the Twilight series. The book that we have the most in different languages would be the Harry Potter series, just because worldwide it's a popular series.
I repeat, the conditions in Guantanamo Bay are of a higher standard than those in Alligator Alcatraz. Work that one out.
If you look at the detention capacity he created in Florida, he created 3,000 beds in 8 days.
It's wild to see Reform are following the policies of Donald Trump, considering he's plummeted in the approval ratings, and all of these immigration plans have backfired either through riots or making conditions worse for migrants than those of terrorists. This is abject failure by the British press, who don't pull Nigel up on any of these points. And the lies continued.
If you look at those that have claimed asylum in the last year, the biggest single category comes from Pakistan.
No, it's not. It's only 10%, but we could say it's experienced a significant increase of 79%, but it's still only 10% of all claims. And to be honest, it sort of reminds me of what he said about Romanians.
Then you gloss so smoothly and so slickly demonising Romanians and demonising Germans.
I'm not demonising anybody.
But you just asked you a question about Romanians and you started talking about people traffickers.
I'm demonising.
And by the way, Martin, just bear this in mind. This country has taken 500,000 refugees since the Brexit referendum. This country is not closed-minded to groups that genuinely face persecution, to groups that genuinely are refugees. We just don't believe, by any traditional definitions of a refugee, we just don't believe those people crossing the English Channel, or at least very few of them, tick that box.
Despite the fact that judges and evidence has been provided to those judges from experts saying that these people are actual asylum seekers. Apart from that. But again, it comes back to this thing.
I'm not demonising anybody.
But you just asked you a question about Romanians and you started talking about people traffickers.
I'm demonising.
We just don't believe those people crossing the English Channel, or at least very few of them, tick that box.
And he doesn't end with the attack on the judges, but also on the attack on your civil rights, because he's going after the Human Rights Act and ECHR. Let's listen to what he had to say about the Human Rights Act.
The risk of a British Bill of Rights is that it simply empowers those same activist judges that you've decried here today. Would it not be preferable instead to simply repeal the 1998 Human Rights Act, leave the ECHR and go back to the old system of legal governance?
Yeah, I mean, common law really is what you're talking about, and that's how we used to do it. And, our tradition has always been that we're free-born people, that everything is allowed, unless there is a law that specifically prohibits us from doing something.
What he wants is a power grab. It's not for the common person, it's not for British rights, it's so they can deport people and then start passing whatever laws that they want to pass. The so-called return to common law, it sounds romantic, but in reality it means your rights only exist as long as Parliament feels like recognising them. Free speech, a fair trial, privacy, all of them could be rewritten and removed by a simple majority vote. And the worst bit is, he even admits what he's going to do.
As opposed to the more European system of state-given human rights, which incidentally they can withdraw pretty much at a moment's notice.
He's just lied again, because he suggested that, for example, if you're in the EU, you can just withdraw instantly and with ease, which we know isn't true. And we also know leaving the ECHR, which is a separate court, isn't that easy, and we catch him out on it. Have a listen to this.
Are you concerned that leaving the ECHR could jeopardise the Good Friday Agreement?
Yeah, I mean, look, Blair, of course, wrote the ECHR into everything. He wrote it into everything to try and embed it deeply in British law. Can we renegotiate the Good Friday Agreement to get the ECHR out of it? Yes. Is that something that can happen very, very quickly? No, it'll take longer. It'll take longer.
He wants to put the Irish and Northern Irish and British trilateral agreement at risk. Because for reasons only known to Nigel Farage, he believes that the Irish and Northern Irish governments and arguably the American government can all come together to sort out the mess that he's about to create. And let's face it, Brexit and Nigel Farage are partly responsible for what's already taking place in Northern Ireland by really pushing the sentiment of nationalism.
So unfortunately, and for a variety of reasons, previous governments have placed Northern Ireland, I'm afraid, in a different position to the rest of the United Kingdom, something that we vigorously opposed. It will take a little bit longer with Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland is in the unbelievably special position, unique position in the entire world, European continent, in having privileged access, not just to the UK home market, which is enormous, 5th biggest in the world, but also the European Union single market. Nobody else has that. No one. Only you guys. Only here.
Going back to the earlier point as well about why should people believe Nigel when so many political leaders have stood in front of the British people and said we would do it?
It's not exactly as if Nigel's a track record of lying, is it?
Let's just assume that things went wrong.
Yeah.
That the worst case scenario, economically, is better than where we are today.
Have cheaper food, cheaper shoes, cheaper bras.
We can give people cheaper food, cheaper bras, cheaper shoes. It's a massive opportunity.
So you say.
Well, one of the signs that this is going to work is how, number one, the human rights lawyers, the so-called human rights lawyers, are furious. That's a really good positive indicator that this plan will work.
Yes, you heard right. Those who in their life have decided to dedicate it towards protecting people's rights are now evil.
Because these people, there's an industrial complex. I've seen this in courtrooms, an industrial complex of so-called human rights lawyers.
Yes, that's right, the evil human rights lawyers who earn less than minimum wage and generally rely on legal aid to try and help their clients. It's not the city lawyers who make billions every year, no. It's the evil human rights lawyers. So let's recap Farage and Zia's big ideas. They want to copy Trump's detention camps, the ones shut down by judges for being too much like Guantanamo Bay but worse, scrap human rights so no judge can ever stop the government again, blame migrants for the housing crisis instead of building homes, and of course the grand economic vision of cheaper bras. None of this fixes wages, none of it lowers your bills, none of it clears the NHS backlog, none of it builds houses for people, none of it reduces your rent or your mortgages, fights food inflation, or tries to solve the birth rate crisis. It's not a plan for Britain's future, it's a punchline where they get to punch you down. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Every comment helps push this video harder by YouTube. You can also help for free by hitting that like and subscribe button. I would also like to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon YouTube subscribers who keep this channel going and growing. You may also want to read my book, Manufactured Fear, which goes into detail about the things that Farage does to control the population by scaring them. Once again, thanks for listening. Bye for now.